The first thing I did after becoming a zombie was collect baby formula and diapers everywhere, all because I adopted her. Every zombie laughed at me for being an idiot, but what they didn't know was, this baby girl was the reincarnation of humanity's Empress. In her former life, she fought across the world, surviving countless life and death trials, and slew innumerable powerful beings of other races. Yet while undergoing her heavenly trial, she was ambushed and died at the hands of the Mother Queen of the Starry Sky insect race. Now, she had been reborn 50 years into the past, at the start of the apocalypse, except she had become an infant. As soon as I transmigrated into this world, zombies attacked me. In the end, I became one too. Thankfully, I retained my human consciousness. I survived on frozen meat I found in a store refrigerator for a month. Now, the meat in the refrigerator was starting to rot. Zombies ate rotten meat, but with a human mind, I couldn't accept that. I had no choice. I disguised myself as an ordinary zombie and went out to find food. When I entered a home and headed for the kitchen, I suddenly heard a baby crying next door. After I pried open the bedroom door, I found a warmly furnished room, a stark contrast to the bloodstains in the living room. On the bed, a 6 or 7-month-old baby girl was wailing. The couple must have, in their final moments, locked the bedroom door to protect their child. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue was utterly devastated. She had finally been reborn. Yet the first thing she saw was not her parents, but a zombie. She had not eaten in a long time, and the terror overwhelming her now left Yun Ruoxue weakened by fear and hunger. She promptly fainted. Looking at the little thing, I was surprised. Though she was only 5 or 6 months old, her eyes held sorrow and resignation. In this life, I could actually relate to her. The little one and I had both inexplicably come to this world, only to be unlucky souls caught in the apocalypse. This new life that suddenly appeared before me was like a light in the darkness, giving me a new purpose. So I decided to adopt her. But then I realized, the little one seemed to have fainted from hunger. The formula cans in the room were empty. I decided to go find some formula. I secured the bedroom door where I had locked her in, then moved the sofa in front of it to keep zombies from getting in. After finding nothing in the kitchen, I could only search upstairs. The third-floor hallway was covered in dried blackish-brown blood. Unidentifiable severed limbs littered the floor, even with the apartment doors left open. The stench of decay was unbearable. Several mutilated zombies were even wandering the hall. I was already used to it. I went straight to looting the apartments. I searched several kitchens but found no formula, only a little raw meat that had not fully spoiled. Then, while searching a home on the 5th floor, I found that the mother had become a zombie, and she had already devoured her child. I fell silent. If the little one had not been locked inside that bedroom, she would likely have met the same fate. Fortunately, I found 2 unopened cans of formula in the kitchen, along with just over 2 pounds of raw meat that had not spoiled. In her haze, Yun Ruoxue felt milk flowing into her mouth. She instinctively sucked it down. After receiving some nourishment, she slowly forced her eyes open. To her surprise, she was not dead. A zombie was even spoon-feeding her milk like a nanny. In her memories of her past life, zombies were bloodthirsty monsters driven only by instinct. She herself had even put down companions who had turned into zombies. Is this zombie raising me just to eat me later? I had no idea what the little one was thinking. I only knew that when she opened her eyes again, I finally relaxed completely. But because she had gone so long without food, after I fed her 1 bowl of formula, she still was not full. For a moment, I forgot I was a zombie. I tried to speak, but only let out a low growl. So I shut my mouth and silently turned away. I mixed 3 more bowls of formula before she was finally full. Raising a child was not easy. I realized I would need to bring back more formula from now on. Fortunately, sealed formula keeps for a long time, so I would not have to worry about it spoiling. After Yun Ruoxue had eaten and drunk her fill, she lay contentedly in the crib. She found the whole situation absurd. The aura of the zombie before her clearly belonged to one that had only recently turned a weak, first-tier zombie. A zombie at that level could not possibly possess intelligence, yet she could not make sense of it at all. But as an empress who had endured countless life and death crises, Yun Ruoxue gradually calmed down. Fear still lingered in her heart, but even if the zombie truly meant to eat her, at least she would die with a full stomach. So she stopped worrying so much. Her nerves, taut from days of hunger and terror, finally relaxed. Yun Ruoxue could not help falling into a deep sleep. I watched the little one's sleeping face and could not stop myself from smiling. For the first time, I felt peace and beauty. But if I left this months-old baby here, she would surely die. So I decided to take her with me. This was an old 7-story apartment building. The second floor was not safe, while the 7th floor top level was relatively secure. Perhaps because the complex was old, there were not many zombies around. But those zombies were starving. I could not risk carrying the little one out in the open. So, with a crowbar, I easily smashed their heads from behind and dealt with the zombies in my way. After settling the little one in, I took a bath and changed into clean clothes. Aside from my gruesome wounds, I now looked no different from an ordinary human. More importantly, in one of the rooms, I found a fairly complete set of baby supplies. A family had likely left them behind when they fled in panic after the outbreak, perhaps because I had been moving around so much lately. My limbs, once extremely stiff after becoming a zombie, seemed far more coordinated. I could even make a few simple human movements. Though this puzzled me, I did not dwell on it. All my attention was on Yun Ruoxue. Just as I picked up a diaper to change her, Yun Ruoxue suddenly had a startling thought. If my feeding her had only confused her before, then seeing that I knew how to change a diaper convinced her that I might retain human consciousness. Recalling the details of our first encounter, she realized that, unlike other zombies, I could turn doorknobs, pry open doors with a crowbar, and even mix formula to feed her. But these actions were not instincts an ordinary first-tier zombie could have. She became ever more certain that I had retained my human consciousness. Only human willpower, she believed, could suppress a zombie's bloodthirsty instincts. But the next second, Yun Ruoxue's eyes flew wide. The zombie before her did not look like a woman, no matter how she looked at him. She never imagined her lifelong purity would be ruined by a diaper, but she quickly let it go. After all, being reborn was already a blessing. Besides, this zombie had saved her life. She should not fuss over something so trivial. Yun Ruoxue watched my stiff limbs clumsily change her diaper. Her heart ached, yet she was deeply moved. She imagined that I had once had a happy family, only to become a zombie after the apocalypse struck. That loneliness and pain of being unable to belong anywhere touched the softest part of her heart. So she decided to accept me as her zombie dad. After I tidied up our new home, I considered the little one's food needs and mine, and decided to stockpile supplies. But going out in daylight would draw survivors' suspicion and easily expose the little one and me. So I chose to move at night. Before leaving, I not only shut the bedroom door, but even blocked the stairway with a cabinet to keep out zombies and humans alike. I had witnessed many people, just to survive, resort to any means necessary. I knew all too well humanity's dark side in the apocalypse, so I was especially cautious. I securely tied shut the iron door on the first floor before beginning my search for supplies. Though nearby homes had few supplies individually, together they added up to quite a bit of food. After filling my hiking backpack, I carried armfuls of formula through the night. But suddenly I sensed something was wrong. Only then did I notice the moon high overhead had turned blood red. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue woke to find the house empty. After comfortably relieving herself in her diaper, she suddenly saw the blood moon outside the window. It seemed the age of global evolution was about to begin. I was surprised by the blood moon, but in a zombie apocalypse, and having seen similar scenes in science fiction movies, I quickly accepted it. This was what an apocalypse ought to look like. I began hauling supplies without stopping, not even leaving behind books. But on my fourth trip, I suddenly felt something wrong with my body. A searing heat strangely rose inside my cold body. It felt both foreign and familiar, as though I had returned to life. But then my brain began to itch unbearably, as though my brain were about to burst. I feared my human consciousness was about to vanish, and I would become a purely bloodthirsty zombie. Panic gripped me for a moment. Besides me, even the other zombies under the moonlight underwent the same changes. Survivors bathed in moonlight also began to heat up. Their blood raced faster through their veins, and even their bones grew tougher. Yun Ruoxue, in the bedroom, was also bathed in crimson moonlight. Her tiny body trembled faintly, burning all over. After an unknown amount of time, I finally came to. Though nothing around me seemed noticeably different, the moment I moved, I realized I had become far more agile. I was no longer as stiff as before. To my surprise, the black veins on my body had faded, and hair had begun growing back on my head. Even the zombies wandering the streets had changed. Their formerly grotesque, revolting appearances had become somewhat more human. A flicker of secret delight rose in me. This world was clearly not as simple as I had thought. As I passed a zombie, a strange feeling rose within me. I kept feeling that between this zombie and me, There was an invisible thread. It startled me so much that I thought I was hallucinating. But then I realized I seemed to possess a special ability. I could send my thoughts into a zombie through that thread, as if controlling a puppet. When I focused, my connection with the zombie grew stronger, and I successfully made it perform complex movements. I named this ability Zombie Control. After repeated tests, I discovered I could currently control no more than 2 zombies at once, and at too great a distance. I could not issue precise commands. I suspected it was related to my mental power. I called the zombies under my control zombie puppets. When I began to feel a little tired, I suddenly remembered Yun Ruoxue, home alone. So I had the 2 zombie puppets, carried the supplies I had gathered, and hurried back to the complex. I had to admit, zombies were born workhorses. They needed neither food nor water, and never asked for wages. Meanwhile, after being tempered by the blood moon, Yun Ruoxue woke from her deep sleep. After a flood of information rushed into her mind, her eyes shone with excitement. Unlike the talent she awakened in her past life, this time she even awakened telekinesis. She could control objects with her mind. But what thrilled her most was that she had actually regained her past life's power to control time. Both talents had the potential to make her a top powerhouse. In her past life, time control alone had made her the Empress. Now, she had awakened the talents. Together, they could work wonders in both attack and defense. After Yun Ruoxue tried using her abilities, her infant body proved far too weak. Before long, she developed stabbing pain in her mind and overwhelming exhaustion. Though her mental power was still extremely weak, she remained full of hope for the future. She believed that as she grew, her strength would far surpass her past lives. She even began imagining the day she grew up and defeated the insect queen who had killed her in her past life. Suddenly, a sound came from outside. Yun Ruoxue guessed that her zombie dad had returned. She could not help wondering, could a zombie with human consciousness, after the blood moon's transformation, awaken special powers just like humans? When I saw the wardrobe in the hallway had not been moved, I breathed a sigh of relief. Since arriving in this world, it was the first time I had someone to worry about. I easily moved the wardrobe aside and rushed into the bedroom. Yun Ruoxue was awake, watching me obediently. I had never even been in a relationship, yet somehow, I actually felt like a father. Then I went into the kitchen. With the water and power out, I could only use bottled water to make formula for the little one. As I stirred the formula, Yun Ruoxue studied her zombie dad. She noticed I had changed, though not by much. Still, I looked a little more human now. That differed from the zombie evolution type she remembered. In her past life, zombies had evolved in many ways. Tank-type zombies, for example, grew abnormally large and muscular, with exceptional resilience. They were like main battle tanks on a battlefield, the nightmare of every survivor. She had held great hopes for me, a special zombie, to evolve after the blood moon. After all, in the apocalypse, strength was the key to survival. But seeing so little change in me, she could not help feeling disappointed. So Yun Ruoxue secretly resolved that once she grew up, she would gain enough strength to protect me. She knew that without me, having been reborn as a baby, she would surely have died in this apocalypse. She always repaid kindness, especially a debt this immense. You raise me while I am little. I will care for you when you are old. That should never be just empty words. Besides, she knew the main ways zombies evolved. The primary method was devouring living creatures. Beyond that, they could consume the crystal cores and other zombies' brains. Those unusual zombies that awaken supernatural abilities, whatever their type, would form crystal cores in their brains. She was confident that, with her rebirth advantage, she could seize crystal cores and help me evolve into a high-level zombie. Then I would gain the ability to speak, and my body would become more human. I had no idea what the little one was thinking. I only saw her staring at me expectantly, and found it rather amusing. Though I could not speak, I still gestured to the little one, trying to tell her I had arranged zombie bodyguards and brought her some toys. Of course, besides toys, I had even brought study guides, including practice tests and college entrance exam prep books. I suddenly realized I had not yet named Yun Ruoxue. After some thought, since we lived on the 7th floor, I decided to give her the nickname Qiqi. I hoped this name would help us remember the happy days in our little home on the 7th floor. I was satisfied with the supplies I had gathered overnight. They should keep Qiqi and me fed for a long time. Given the apocalypse's uncertainty, I decided to stay home and observe for a while, only going out once I was sure it was safe. I went into the living room and picked up a steel machete about half a meter long. I wondered what the previous owner had done for a living. To own Such a long, razor-sharp machete. Though I had never learned blade techniques, my zombie body's immense strength let me swing the machete smoothly. I recalled moves from martial arts novels and films, and practiced them in the living room. With a blade in hand, I could surely take on several enemies with ease. As I practiced my blade work, Yun Ruoxue rested for a while, then began studying her talents again. For her newly awakened telekinesis, she focused her mental power on a silver needle on the bedside table. Though she could move it only slowly for now, the silver needle still glided through the air. And just like that, today's passed in a flash. Those todays had been fulfilling for us both. After feeding Yun Ruoxue her formula, I heard commotion outside. Through the balcony window, I saw, on the street, two zombies, with no food to fight over, tearing into each other. This abnormal behavior went beyond everything I knew about zombie habits. The 7th floor was too high for a clear view, so I went down to the 4th floor to investigate. One zombie stood nearly 2 meters tall, with immense strength and an incredibly muscular build. The other had a slender frame, but claws as sharp as daggers. The heavily built tank zombie had powerful defenses. The agile zombie had greater attack power, but it struggled to pierce the tank zombie's defenses. After a brutal brawl, the tank zombie relied on its overwhelming strength to send the agile zombie flying. Then it crushed the other's head with one final punch, killing it. It then dug a white crystal core from the agile zombie's skull. These two zombies were far stronger than I was. I was stunned. I was grateful that caution had kept me indoors. This world was more brutal than I had imagined. I could not grow complacent just because I had evolved. When I saw the tank zombie pull out the crystal core, a fierce craving rose within me. Instinctively, I knew it would benefit my body. Could these two zombies have fought to seize the crystal core in each other's brains? After the giant zombie swallowed the white crystal core, it beat its chest and roared excitedly, then smashed its fist into the nearby cars. When nearby ordinary zombies heard the commotion, they froze. Then they all backed away, instinctively afraid of this zombie. I guessed that crystal cores might enhance a zombie's evolved abilities, especially since my primal craving upon seeing one far surpassed my hunger for flesh. If I could eat a crystal core, it would surely strengthen my ability to control zombies. But I was clearly no match for that creature yet. Then I spotted the gas cylinder in the kitchen, and immediately thought of a clever way to take it down. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue also heard the commotion outside, though she could not see what was happening below. Her experience from her past life told her that the world had entered a wave of rapid evolution after the blood moon. Zombies and mutant beasts slaughtered one another to evolve. Human survivors began hunting crystal cores. Later, they even developed cultivation methods. As the peerless empress of humanity, the method Yun Ruoxue had cultivated in her past life was the supreme glazed glass breathing method. Yun Ruoxue understood that her zombie dad, as an ordinary low-level zombie, would struggle to survive in the apocalypse. She had to grow stronger quickly to protect them both. Though she was only a baby now, she could still cultivate the glazed glass breathing method. She began cultivating with the energy particles filling the air after the blood moon. Once she activated the method, her body trembled. Energy particles slowly entered her body. Yun Ruoxue was grateful to have been reborn. In the early days of the apocalypse, she could cultivate using the glazed glass breathing method. A flood of energy particles surged into her body, making her bones tougher and strengthening her weak telekinesis. When I returned to the bedroom from downstairs, I saw her body trembling. I thought she had caught a cold, so I hurriedly covered her with a blanket. Yun Ruoxue was startled awake. My worried expression amused her. At the same time, she felt the warmth of her zombie dad's love. In her past life, she had grown up in an orphanage and known every cruelty and kindness people could offer. This was the first time she had ever felt a father's love. Seeing that little Qiqi was all right, I began thinking about how to deal with the zombie outside. Such a dangerous ticking bomb had to be dealt with quickly. That evening, I sent out zombie puppet number 1, controlled by my mind, to provoke the tank zombie inside a storefront, which was still absorbing the crystal core's power. After the zombie puppet struck the tank zombie with the flower pot, it turned and ran. It successfully lured it into a storefront where I had set up a gas cylinder. Zombie puppet number 1 had just run inside. When the tank zombie charged, its huge body smashed straight into the store, crushing my zombie puppet to a pulp. Then zombie puppet number 2 entered the store, shut the door, and used a lighter to ignite the gas cylinder. The tank zombie took the explosion head-on and let out agonized roars amid the flames. When it finally struggled out of the store, it collapsed at the entrance. After the gas cylinder exploded, I promptly withdrew my consciousness from the zombie puppets. The hulking zombie lay at the entrance, burned to charcoal. I waited more than 10 minutes, and only after confirming it was truly dead did I dare approach. Up close, I found the zombie burned beyond recognition. Its body had suffered immense damage. I swung my machete and used all my strength to split open the back of its skull. Inside was a white crystal core streaked with red. This crystal core tempted me far more strongly than the pure white one I had seen before. From what I had observed, pure white crystal cores were created when evolved zombies devoured other zombies. This red streaked core was clearly a higher grade. As zombies gradually gathered, drawn by the firelight, I put away the crystal core and chose to zombies with intact limbs. They would become my new zombie puppets. After returning to the residential complex, I stationed the new puppets downstairs as guards. I went to the 3rd floor. Once I confirmed it was safe, I could no longer suppress my craving for the crystal core and swallowed it. As the crystal core tempered my body, my skin shifted further toward a human appearance. Besides improving my appearance, my physical strength, agility, and more all improved slightly. After a brief spell of dizziness, my mind became exceptionally clear. My 5 senses grew sharper, and controlling zombies became effortless. I could now control 5 zombies at once. I had also gained a new ability, shared vision. It removed my previous limitation of controlling zombie puppets only within sight. Now I could control them remotely. Tests showed that my telekinesis had a maximum range of 1 kilometer. Within that range, I did not need to show myself to command my zombie puppets. It greatly improved my chances of survival. Yun Ruoxue heard the explosion from the storefront and the roars of an evolved zombie. Safe on the 7th floor, she was not worried about being exposed. But I had not returned for a long time, and she was deeply worried. She knew that in her current state as a baby, facing an evolved zombie with enhanced combat power, she stood no chance. She understood the danger of encountering such a zombie. All she could do was pray that heaven would not take away the zombie dad who had shown her such fatherly love. She had wanted to continue cultivating the glazed glass breathing method, but her troubled thoughts made it impossible to continue. Just then, the sound of the door opening came from outside. Yun Ruoxue immediately breathed a sigh of relief. A faint smile appeared on her face. After all, only her zombie dad could unlock and open the door. When I returned, I saw Yun Ruoxue smiling, and warmth filled my heart. Knowing I had grown stronger and could protect her better, I happily went to the kitchen to make her formula. Watching her drink her milk so contentedly, I felt as though even this decaying body of mine radiated with surging vitality. Over the 2 days after my power increased, I controlled zombie puppets with telekinesis to search nearby for supplies. I turned several rooms on the lower floors into storage. Besides baby supplies and food, I found plenty of tools for dealing with zombies. Over those days, our lives repeated much the same routine each day, but I still felt deeply fulfilled. After all, I could clearly feel my strength steadily growing. As for Yun Ruoxue, apart from drinking milk each day, she cultivated the glazed glass breathing method. She occasionally heard faint sounds from the living room. Thinking of the strange events from 2 days earlier, she guessed that I had encountered an extraordinary zombie that had evolved a special ability. She knew how powerful evolved zombies were. Their oppressive presence and combat power far surpassed ordinary zombies. Besides, ordinary zombies in this changed world occupied the bottom rung. They faced threats from human survivors, other zombies, and mutated beasts. She was moved by me. Even in such dire circumstances, I had not given up caring for her. Thinking of the loss of humanity in the apocalypse, she felt even more strongly that her zombie dad was precious for preserving that spark of humanity. After many days of cultivation, her telekinesis had greatly strengthened. She could launch silver needles at tremendous speed. Combined with her time control ability, she was confident she could kill without a sound. But she was not satisfied with that. To survive the apocalypse, she still needed to become stronger. Meanwhile, while I sent zombie puppets to search nearby buildings for supplies, I discovered that a home's former owner had likely been a combat sports enthusiast. They had left behind many fighting manuals, which described various close combat techniques. My physical abilities were already beyond those of ordinary people after evolving as a zombie. Now that my body was no longer stiff, I could more easily learn and perform complex fighting moves. Though zombie attacks were primitive and brutal, human ingenuity had produced modern combat techniques that were more practical and effective. Though my evolution was not focused on physical close combat, I believed sound fighting techniques, could make up for differences in physical ability. They would also let me exploit the fact that zombies do not fear bites, and wield weapons as efficiently as possible. After learning several combat fundamentals and training, I directed the zombie puppets into the 6th floor living room. Once I released my telekinetic control, they became my sparring partners. After all, who could stop a zombie that knew martial arts? But after actual practice, I discovered that theory and trial and error alone were nowhere near enough for real combat. Only real combat could hone my sense of distance and my ability to read and control an opponent's reactions. After repeated training, I made remarkable progress in fighting. When facing frontal attacks from ordinary zombies, I could handle them with ease. I had grown from a complete novice into a capable fighter with real technique. I also discovered I could multitask while practicing combat. I could control zombie puppets to search for supplies, using their shared vision to watch the surroundings. Just then, I spotted something on the 3rd floor of Building 1 in Jianghai residential complex. The zombies were scavenging supplies. Then a blood-red figure suddenly appeared. Its speed was terrifying. If it had not left tracks on the ground, I would have thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I controlled a zombie puppet to track the blood-red figure. A few minutes later, I finally got a clear look at the zombie. It looked hideous and horrifying. Its skin had peeled away, and its teeth and tongue had become grotesquely misshapen. Its hands and feet had mutated into the claws of a savage beast. It could no longer stand upright, and could only crawl on all fours. Yet it possessed unmatched speed and powerful explosive force. It could race effortlessly across walls and ceilings. Facing this blood-red zombie, my zombie puppets showed fear. The creature was incredibly fast. In an instant, it slaughtered the zombie puppets under my control. What kind of monster is that? When my vision returned to my own body, the terror still lingered in my heart. After the blood moon, some zombies had evolved abilities beyond imagination. My current strength was nowhere near enough to face one. Even if 5 zombie puppets attacked together, they could be wiped out in an instant. All I could do was hope that this blood-red zombie would not come to Building 5, where I lived. I did not dare waste any time. Every day, I sparred with zombies to build my strength. 1 week later, in the 6th floor living room, I faced the combined assault of 3 powerfully built zombies. I could move nimbly through the confined space, seizing the right moment to use my unique techniques and swiftly defeat them. While honing my fighting skills, I had my zombie puppets search for supplies, while tracking the movements of evolved zombies. A monster as difficult to handle as the blood-red zombie could not be provoked before I had enough strength. But the hulking zombies I had encountered before, and agile-type zombies, were relatively easier to handle. After several days of investigation, I had discovered that those crystal cores were most likely formed only in the brains of evolved zombies. Meanwhile, in the 7th floor bedroom, Yun Ruoxue, in her baby's body, had gone from being exhausted just moving a silver needle to making her infant body hover 1 or 2 centimeters in the air. For humanity, flying through the air was likely everyone's dream. Yun Ruoxue could not yet achieve that, but after cultivating tirelessly for so long, she finally had some ability to protect herself in the apocalypse. What she did not know was, if the large survivor camps learn of this, they would likely rush to recruit her. For a baby to make her own body hover was an astonishing feat. After finishing my combat training on the 6th floor, I controlled zombie puppets to dispose of the dismembered zombies. Just as I was about to go upstairs to feed Qiqi, a zombie puppet gathering supplies made a new discovery. Not far away, a lean zombie, an agile type with greatly enhanced speed, was chasing a sallow, emaciated human survivor. The survivor had run out of stored food and had been forced outside to search for more. Unfortunately, he encountered the evolved zombie I had been seeking for so long. The agile zombie was incredibly fast. It drove its claws through a car door and pulled off a perfect drift. It quickly caught up to and killed the survivor. Watching this, I realized my chance had come. Ever since swallowing a crystal core and experiencing that surge of energy, I became obsessed with growing stronger. I immediately dispatched a zombie puppet to follow and watch the agile zombie. I left 1 zombie puppet to monitor it, then sent for more armed with fire axes. Once the 5 zombie puppets assembled, I had them pose as ordinary zombies, keeping a suitable distance, forming a loose semicircle as they slowly closed in. The agile zombie was feasting on human flesh. I arranged them this way because the agile zombie was so fast. If I acted rashly, my zombie puppets might all be wiped out. When they were only 10 meters from the agile zombie, I commanded all 5 zombie puppets to charge. The agile zombie relied on its speed to evade most of the attacks, but my semicircle tactic still left its right arm and back slashed open. However, one zombie puppet got its axe lodged between the zombie's ribs and had its head torn apart by the enraged agile zombie. I then sent 2 zombie puppets in with a frontal feint to draw its attention, while the other 2 attacked from the side. The agile zombie knocked back the puppets making the feint, but it could not dodge the slash across its waist. A huge chunk of flesh was carved away. The wounded agile zombie burst forward at top speed and tore apart another zombie puppet's head. But the remaining 3 zombie puppets rushed in. The agile zombie ultimately could not evade the relentless barrage of axes. It was finally killed. After killing the agile zombie, I had the remaining zombie puppets dig out its crystal core and quickly return to the residential complex. Back at the residential complex, I stationed zombie puppets at the building entrance and took the crystal core to the 6th floor. I found it was just like the one I had swallowed before. A white crystal core streaked with red. It seemed this agile zombie had also consumed a crystal core. I swallowed the crystal core and once again felt immense energy flood through my body. When it was over, my strength had increased dramatically. I could now control 10 zombies at a maximum distance of 3 kilometers. Thrilled by my newfound strength, I selected 10 strong-limbed zombies from the horde, equipped them with fire axes, and formed a formidable zombie squad. Looking at the squad, I was filled with confidence. I dreamed of building a massive zombie army, using my powerful telekinesis and countless zombie puppets to conquer every corner. I had even decided on a strategy of overwhelming numbers, but I had not forgotten the terrifying blood-red monster in Building 1. After fighting the agile zombie today, the comparison made it seem even more terrifying. I had 10 zombie puppets now, but knew too little about that monster to be certain I could defeat it. I decided to send zombie puppets to test it again in a few days and learn its true strength. After all, that monster was a ticking time bomb that would not let me rest easy. Over the next 3 days, I turned the 6th floor into a training room. By fighting zombies, I discovered that evolution had improved every aspect of my physical abilities. I nodded in satisfaction. This body of mine finally looked like that of a true apocalypse survivor. After training, I had the zombie puppets clear away the remains of the fight. After washing the blood from myself, I returned to the 7th floor to feed little Qiqi. Seeing the little one's innocent smile, I could not help smiling too. The little one certainly had a growing appetite. After feeding her, I used scavenged toys to entertain little Qiqi. Yun Ruoxue watched her zombie dad trying to entertain her so clumsily and was utterly speechless. She might look like a baby on the outside, but inside, she was mature and composed. A peerless empress, decisive and ruthless. Still, this was her zombie dad's kind gesture, so she could only smile. But when I saw her cooperative smile, I tried even harder. Yun Ruoxue's eyelid twitched. Forget it. She would treat it as telekinesis training. After playing with Yun Ruoxue, I decided to test the blood-red monster in Building 1. From the ordinary zombie horde, I selected 10 tall, powerfully built zombie puppets. I armed them with fire axes. They looked imposing, but I felt it was not enough. Remembering the helmet sold at the electric bike shop on the corner, I took the zombie puppets to smash open its door. I gave every zombie puppet a full-face motorcycle helmet. After all, a zombie's head was its fatal weakness. Even if its body were torn apart, as long as its head was intact, it could still turn and bury an axe in its attacker. Once everything was ready, I remotely controlled this newly outfitted zombie puppet squad. As it marched toward Building 1, my telekinesis reached 3 kilometers, and I knew I could not beat it in close combat. So I chose to stay in Building 5 and direct them from safety. Starting from the 1st floor, the zombie puppet squad carefully searched every room and corner, paying special attention to the ceilings, in case the wall-crawling blood-red monster launched an ambush. Soon, the zombie puppets had searched for floors, yet found no trace of the blood-red monster. But they did not know. The blood-red monster was clinging like a spider to a hidden corner on the 5th floor. As the zombie puppets came upstairs, the monster suddenly attacked. One blow sent the zombie puppet nearest the door flying. Fortunately, the helmet kept it from dying. I quickly commanded the zombie puppets to counterattack, swinging their fire axes. If Yun Ruoxue had been there, she would have recognized it at once. This zombie before them was an evolved liquor zombie, transformed by the apocalypse. In Yun Ruoxue's memories of her past life, this zombie, in the early days of the apocalypse, had inflicted devastating losses on human survivors. The licker was enraged. Its claws moved with blinding speed, sending several zombie puppets flying. But under my control, the zombie puppets ignored their injuries and clung tightly to its claws. Then the other zombie puppets brought their axes down on its head. The licker was surrounded by the zombie puppets. Though it managed to leap clear, it was still struck again and again. I had several zombie puppets keep striking the same spot. Finally, under my control, 3 zombie puppets joined forces and chopped off one of the licker's arms. The wounded licker leaped onto the ceiling. I commanded the zombie puppets to throw their axes at it, but the licker was simply too fast. The strength of the low-level zombie puppets I controlled, and their accuracy both dropped sharply. The licker shattered a window and fled onto the building's exterior wall, vanishing in the blink of an eye. I cursed myself for underestimating its strength. Though I had prepared thoroughly, I still let it escape. This licker zombie moved with terrifying speed and traversed building walls as easily as flat ground. Its escape might make it wary or even provoke retaliation. I was glad I had given the zombie puppets helmets, reducing our losses. But what worried me most was this blood-red monster. It would be a disaster if it sneaked into Building 5 one day. If it found the little one, it could climb up the outer wall, and there would be no way to guard against it. I quickly steadied myself and made a defense plan. I assigned 3 strong zombie puppets to patrol Building 5 in full gear. That way, even if the monster sneaked inside, I would know in time. Meanwhile, I sent the other zombie puppets to search for more evolved zombies. Consuming to crystal cores and growing stronger had already thrilled me, but this blood-red monster made me realize I was still just a small fry. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue was in the 7th floor bedroom, controlling 2 dolls, as they danced endlessly through the air. As a former empress, she did not care for such things, but she did not want to waste my kindness, and she later discovered that dolls were quite useful for telekinesis practice. When she sensed my return, Yun Ruoxue immediately hugged the dolls to her chest. When I came in and saw her playing happily, my spirits instantly lifted. Little one, this world is too dark and broken. I hope you will not be disappointed in it when you grow up. I hope you can keep growing up, as carefree as you are now. I hope both of us can keep living through this apocalypse. I looked at the bedroom window and immediately turned serious. Then I went out for boards and nails to seal it up. Yun Ruoxue watched her zombie dad in confusion. He had barely gone out these past few days, and now he was boarding up the window. Could it be that her zombie dad had sensed how powerful evolved zombies were, and was so scared he wanted to hide from the chaos outside? The more she thought about it, the more that seemed like the only explanation. It seemed her zombie dad really was a coward, but she had overlooked one possibility. The truth was, I was actually protecting her by doing all this. And after the blood moon, many evolved humans had emerged as well. At first, when facing ordinary zombies, they could only flee in panic. But later on, even ordinary humans could easily hunt these low-level zombies. I kept hammering in nails. After quite a while, at last, I finished fortifying the window. When I boarded it up, I left openings for light and airflow. It ensured protection, without forcing Yun Ruoxue to live in a stifling space. It would also buy me time to react to the blood-red monster. Over the next 3 days, the blood-red monster never appeared, but I still had zombie puppets patrol Building 5. I did not dare let my guard down. Suddenly, a psychic ripple reached my mind. One zombie puppet had been searching for supplies at a convenience store 2 blocks away, when it encountered several human survivors. At first, the survivors thought it was an ordinary zombie. When it hit its head, they recognized what it was in panic. A burly man named Qiqi charged the zombie puppet with an iron bar. I controlled the puppet to fight back with its fire axe. The moment we clashed, I was stunned. The zombie puppets I had chosen were all fairly strong and well-built, and zombies themselves were stronger than ordinary humans. But I never expected this man to be so immensely powerful. The tremendous force from his steel pipe left the zombie puppet's arm numb. Qiqi's strength was astonishing. He knocked the axe from the zombie puppet's hand and smashed its head apart with one blow. Qiqi walked over to the fallen zombie puppet, looking puzzled. This world is seriously insane. Even zombies can use weapons now. Could this be some new type of evolved zombie? But he did not dwell on it. He called for his companions to move the supplies quickly, worried they might attract evolved zombies. Seeing Qiqi kill a zombie with one strike, the others scavenged supplies, while flattering him. Good thing Qiqi is here. Otherwise, we would never have found so much food. Exactly. What are evolved zombies anyway? With Tiju's godlike strength, one swing is all it takes. After all, they needed a powerful protector in the apocalypse, so they shamelessly fawned over him with forced smiles. The man named Tiju heard his companion's flattery and looked very pleased with himself. I was surprised that, over a month into the apocalypse, I could still encounter human survivors, especially Tiju, who had fought my zombie puppet. With his formidable strength, he was probably an evolved human. After all, ordinary humans could not possess such strength. Given humanity's intelligence and complicated thoughts, I worried human survivors might target us for our supplies and endanger little Qiqi and me. I decided not to send zombie puppets into that area again. After that brief encounter with human survivors, several more days passed in a flash. I had stopped gathering supplies because my zombie puppets were simply too efficient. Every room in Building 5 was already piled high with all kinds of supplies. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue had been using her telekinesis on the bedroom bed to practice crawling. As her control over her body improved, Yun Ruoxue crawled faster and faster across the bed. In the end, with telekinesis supporting her, she learned to walk. Just then, I pushed open the door and walked in. When I saw what was happening on the bed, my jaw nearly hit the floor. The little one was only a few months old. How could she already walk upright? At first, I was shocked, then overwhelmed with delight. I had always intended for Yun Ruoxue to adapt to life in the apocalypse, but never expected her to learn to walk at such a young age. I carried Yun Ruoxue into the living room, thinking the flat floor would be better for practice. With her telekinesis, Yun Ruoxue quickly adapted, but her physical strength was limited, and balancing herself consumed telekinesis. After practicing for a while, she stopped. I thought she was tired, so I carried her to the sofa to rest. Afterward, I took my steel machete to practice blade techniques on the balcony. After consuming crystal cores, my body had evolved across the board. Now, whenever I swung the steel machete through the air, it tore through the air with a sharp whistle. My current training was nothing more than drawing on a few memories from my past life. Memories of martial arts stories, and copying simple forms as I swung the machete. Still, I felt that as long as I grew stronger, even if I swung a brick, I could break through anyone's defenses. Yun Ruoxue was astonished when she saw this. I was actually improving my strength. She had believed I was merely an ordinary zombie, but with human awareness, able to use weapons, I held an advantage over ordinary low-level zombies. Yet in her past life, she had been the Human Empress. Yun Ruoxue had vast experience in combat and martial training. She thought my blade practice was utterly pathetic. Against any somewhat stronger opponent, her zombie dad would be killed almost instantly. When I saw Yun Ruoxue staring at me, I mistook it for fascination with my blade work. I felt rather proud, and swung even more vigorously. Over the next few days, I let little Qiqi move freely around the 6th floor living room. Because I trained there often, the 6th floor was more spacious and brighter. It was far better than the 7th floor bedroom with boarded-up windows. I trained with the blade and practiced fighting on the balcony, while Yun Ruoxue practiced walking upright in the living room, secretly honing her telekinetic control as well. With me by her side, the little one walked more steadily every day. She was practically a child prodigy, but Yun Ruoxue's sense of danger only grew stronger. After the Blood Moon's transformation, zombies and savage beasts were evolving at a terrifying pace. An ordinary zombie like me would sooner or later have nowhere left to survive. She had to grow stronger as quickly as possible. At the very least, she could not become a burden in this apocalypse. As we each worked to grow stronger, an enraged roar suddenly came from outside. My mind stirred. I immediately switched to a zombie puppet's view. In the residential complex's greenbelt, two zombies mutated after the Blood Moon were locked in a fierce battle. One was a tank-type zombie over 8 feet tall. Its fist whipped through the air with terrifying force. Every punch smashed a deep crater into the ground. The other was the licker I had seen before. It prowled on all fours, moving with incredible speed. Its claws were like curved blades. The two powerful evolved zombies fought to a stalemate. My heart raced. This was a perfect opportunity. Two evolved zombies had appeared at once, and they were wearing each other down. Once both sides were badly wounded, I could swoop in and claim the prize. I headed straight out the door, going downstairs to gather my zombie puppet squad. Hearing the commotion outside, Yun Ruoxue was speechless. She did not know I could control zombie puppets. She thought I was going to confront the evolved zombies head-on. But she could barely move properly yet, so all she could do was pray inside. As I went downstairs, I began summoning every zombie puppet. 10 fully armed figures, quietly closed in on the green belt. After a long battle, the 2 zombies were finally both severely wounded. The crimson monster tore off one of the tank zombie's arms. In the end, the tank zombie fell dead. The crimson monster barely prevailed. Just as it prepared to take the crystal core, my zombie puppet squad suddenly surrounded it. The crimson monster roared furiously, trying to drive the puppets away. But my controlled puppets were unaffected by its oppressive aura. The 10 zombie puppets blindly swung their fire axes, hacking at it. The open ground robbed it of its advantage in climbing and leaping. The moment it hesitated, it was surrounded. Both evolved zombies' crystal cores were mine. I was overjoyed. I controlled the puppets to swiftly return to the complex. These 2 crystal cores were mostly red. Clearly, they had consumed many of their own kind. Back on the 3rd floor, I eagerly swallowed both crystal cores at once. This time, the energy far surpassed anything before. But the most important change was to my mental power. Terrifying psychic power flooded into my mind, far beyond the limit I could endure. I could not hold on for long before passing out. On the 7th floor, Yun Ruoxue rolled anxiously on the sofa. There had been no sign of me for so long that she had completely lost hope. She thought I had died at the hands of an evolved zombie. Poor zombie dad. Why could you not wait for me a little longer? While she grieved, the door lock clicked. Yun Ruoxue jerked her head up, and a smile instantly bloomed across her face. She jumped off the sofa and ran toward me on unsteady legs. Dad. It was as if I had been struck by lightning. I froze where I stood. Little Qiqi could call me dad. I had lived 2 lives without even having a girlfriend. This strange feeling of suddenly becoming someone's father left me so thrilled I did not know what to do. Yun Ruoxue was stunned as well. She had been too excited, and the words in her heart had slipped out before she could stop them. But she soon felt at ease. After all, she carried the soul of her past life. Speaking had never been a problem for her. She simply had not practiced speaking since being reborn. But I did not think that deeply. I only thought little Qiqi was an unmatched prodigy, naturally gifted without instruction. She could already speak. I let out low, excited growls to express my joy, though unfortunately I could not speak. After this evolution was complete, the number of zombie puppets I could control increased to 30. My mental control range now stretched an astonishing 5 miles. With this kind of strength, I immediately began expanding my forces. After Yun Ruoxue had eaten her fill, she refused to drink any more formula. She opened her mouth, revealing 2 rows of tiny baby teeth, and told me she did not want milk. I was rather embarrassed. Even I knew less about this than little Qiqi did. So I went to the 6th floor, lit a fire, and cooked rice porridge. I added formula and mashed it up, making a rice cereal paste. The little one took the spoon and began eating by herself. She even thought I was too clumsy. Dad, let me do it myself. Watching the little one eat so happily, I felt deeply moved. Little Qiqi had finally grown up. After my strength increased, a bold idea came to mind. Could I control evolved zombies? An opportunity came soon enough. One of my zombie puppets, several miles away, found a lone evolved tank zombie. I led my zombie puppets closer, disguised as ordinary zombies. Once I was within roughly 330 feet, I unleashed my mental power. An evolved zombie's mental defenses were indeed stronger than an ordinary zombie's. I met clear resistance, but my evolved mental power was even stronger. I quickly broke through its defenses, successfully turning it into my zombie puppet. I named it Big Fatty. This guy was incredibly powerfully built. His arms were like prison bars from a hardware store. I found massive sledgehammers, each weighing over 100 pounds, and equipped him with them. He swung them with tremendous force. Standing at the complex entrance, he was like an unstoppable gatekeeper, with Big Fatty guarding the place. My sense of security was through the roof. After that, I subdued another agility-type evolved zombie. I named it Lightning. It was incredibly fast and skilled with twin blades. It perfectly made up for Big Fatty's lack of speed. One for offense, one for defense, plus more than 20 ordinary zombie puppets. I felt like I could rule the apocalypse. Meanwhile, while Big Fatty was searching for supplies, he encountered a mutated giant dog. It was nearly 6.5 feet long, with coarse, pitch-black fur. Its bulky body resembled a wild boar's. This was the first time in the apocalypse that I had seen another mutated creature. I controlled Big Fatty and sent him into battle. Big Fatty shattered the giant dog's front paw with one blow, then crushed its head with a finishing strike. I removed a white crystal core from its brain. Just as I thought, mutated beasts had crystal cores too. I carried the giant dog's corpse back to the complex. I ate some of its flesh and blood to ease my hunger, and left the rest for Big Fatty. The fresh flesh caused Big Fatty's wounds to heal at a visible rate. After I consumed the mutated giant dog's crystal core and a newly encountered tank zombie's crystal core, my psychic power increased again. But Yun Ruoxue knew nothing about this. While I was out, Yun Ruoxue secretly went downstairs to investigate. She found that every floor from the 3rd to the 6th was packed with all kinds of supplies. Formula was piled like mountains. Bottled water was stacked to the ceiling. And there were mountains of baby supplies and food. Oh my god, how much stuff had Zombie Dad hoarded? Beyond her shock, she became even more certain of her conclusion. There was no way an ordinary zombie could have hauled so many supplies. She guessed he had the ability to burrow underground, allowing him to transport goods quickly beneath the ground. When she reached the 1st floor balcony and saw Big Fatty guarding the entrance with twin hammers, she was even more convinced. Dad must use his underground travel power to come and go. In truth, Big Fatty was a zombie puppet under my control, but Yun Ruoxue did not know that. She secretly made up her mind. Once she was strong enough, she would take down that big brute first and remove an obstacle for Dad. She also found the property deed and learned that she was in Jianghai City. She hurriedly searched through her memories of her past life. Jianghai City had two renowned powerhouses. One was the 9 Lives Demon Cop, a policewoman who could revive 9 times. The other was a mutated white bear that wielded lightning. Thunderous roar. If she could recruit the 9 Lives Demon Cop before she grew stronger and bring her under her command, she would be an invaluable ally in the future. Not long afterward, a military helicopter flew over the city, dropping flyers. Jianghai City's military had established a survivor base outside the city. After reading it, I casually tossed it aside. I was a zombie. A human base had nothing to do with me. Yun Ruoxue merely sneered and crumpled the flyer into a ball. She had lived in a survivor base in her past life. It was filled with darkness and injustice. Rather than live among humans scheming against each other, she would rather stay by Zombie Dad's side. While I continued building my strength, Su Muking, a policewoman from a nearby station, came to Sunshine Complex with several colleagues to find a truck. She wanted to drive survivors out of the city in it. But at the complex entrance, she ran into Big Fatty. Su Muking picked up a rock and threw it at Big Fatty, trying to lure him away. When he did not react, she drew her pistol and fired a shot. The instant I saw her draw a gun on Big Fatty, I flew into a rage. I did not care what her reasons were. Anyone who fired at my zombie puppet had chosen death. I controlled Big Fatty to raise his hammer and block the bullet. Then he hurled the massive hammer at Su Muking. She never expected a zombie to attack by throwing a hammer. She could not dodge in time and was struck by the hammer. She died on the spot. The officers who entered the complex were all wiped out by my zombie puppets. I took several police pistols and rounds from their bodies. But late that night, something eerie happened. Su Muking's corpse came back to life in a crimson glow. Her body, battered until its bones and tendons were shattered, was restored completely. Her strength had even doubled. I saw it through Big Fatty's eyes and was completely dumbfounded. What the hell? That policewoman had risen from the dead. Su Muking herself was utterly confused. She checked her body and found not a single injury on it. Her strength and speed had greatly increased. She realized she might be an evolved human with the ability to revive after death. The next day, Su Muking returned with more people. This time, she brought even more fully armed officers. I was furious. I had spared that woman's life last time, yet she had the nerve to come provoke me again. This time, I controlled 3 evolved zombies to surround her. But Su Muking's power had soared after reviving. She handled the 3 zombies' assault with ease. I had my gunner zombie puppet open fire, but she even dodged most of the bullets. Still, I eventually found an opening and killed her again. This time, I smashed her to a pulp, making absolutely sure she was dead. But that very night, she revived again, and her power doubled again. Seriously, was this woman cheating? I was utterly speechless. She could revive whenever she died, and come back even stronger. What troubled me even more was this. A hidden evolved human was secretly helping Sumyukin. Whenever my attacks were about to hit her, an unseen force would freeze my attack for 1 second. It could even bend bullets in midair, and that evolved human hiding in the shadows was actually Yun Ruoxue. From her earlier observations, she had concluded that a zombie king was secretly in the complex, controlling every zombie there. Using a secret telepathy technique, she contacted Sumyukin and posed as a mysterious expert called the Invisible One. Together, they planned to kill the zombie king. Thinking she had found a like-minded ally, Sumyukin gladly agreed to work with her. On the night of the operation, Sumyukin lured Big Fatty away at the entrance and successfully rushed into the complex. But I personally stopped her in front of Building 5 to protect little Qiqi on the 7th floor. I gathered all my zombie puppets around Building 5. Gripping a machete, I attacked in a fury. Every strike was vicious and ruthless, with none of my usual gentleness. Yun Ruoxue watched secretly from the 2nd floor of Building 1. Using her time control ability, she repeatedly stopped my killing blows, but only to keep Sumyukin from getting hurt. She would never let Sumyukin hurt me. Sumyukin was utterly baffled. Whose side was this invisible one on? Even when she attacked the zombie, she was stopped. Yun Ruoxue sent only one message: "You cannot touch this zombie." The battle grew increasingly fierce. Sumyukin desperately tried to storm into Building 5, but I held her back with all my strength. I let out one agonized roar after another. The fury of someone fighting to protect his dearest family made the temperature throughout the entire complex plummet. Then, at that moment, Yun Ruoxue finally discovered the truth. When Sumyukin charged toward Building 5, every zombie in the complex frantically swarmed toward it. They were not protecting some zombie king. They were protecting her on the 7th floor. And the one ordering every zombie to protect her at all cost was her zombie dad. Could it be? Dad was the zombie king? At that moment, every clue fell into place. Her zombie dad was the zombie king she had always wanted to kill. I am such an idiot. Yun Ruoxue had nearly dug out her own father's crystal core to feed it to him. Once she understood, she immediately stopped helping Sumyukin. Without her secret support, Sumyukin was instantly overwhelmed. I controlled 3 evolved zombies and joined them myself to surround her. We savagely battered her like a punching bag. Invisible One, you really screwed me over. That was Sumyukin's final thought before she was knocked out. After I choked her unconscious, I wrote a note and threw it to her. Stay alive. If you die, everyone at the police station will die with you. As expected, soft-hearted Sumyukin gave in. She could not bear to let others die because of her. The days that followed gradually became peaceful. Every day, I sparred with lightning to improve my combat skills. I also found little Qiqi a learning tablet and word cards. The little one learned incredibly fast. She could already read, write, and do arithmetic. I could only think my daughter had the makings of a future empress. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue pretended to follow along with the learning tablet, babbling as she learned to speak. Inside, she felt utterly helpless. In her past life, she had been admitted to a prestigious graduate school. Now she had to relearn infant-level lessons. Whenever I went out, she would also secretly go downstairs to chat with Sumyukin. The grown woman and the little girl got along well. Sumyukin had no guard at all around that innocent, adorable little girl. She told her everything about herself. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue secretly plotted how to recruit this 9 lives demon cop. After all, Sumyukin had the potential to reach the Emperor realm someday. Winning her over would be an enormous advantage. I noticed little Qiqi liked talking with Sumyukin. I did not object. After all, having a human she could talk to normally was good for the little one. I just made sure Sumyukin's chains were locked every time, and had Lightning One watch her closely. Then one day, a zombie puppet brought back new information. On a distant street, an unprecedented 2nd-tier tyrant zombie appeared. Its arms had completely transformed into claws. Its strength and speed were terrifying beyond measure. A human evolved being fled from it in panic. That person was the strong man who had fought my zombie puppets before. Tiju. The tyrant zombie's wounds could actually heal on their own. No matter how many times Tiju slashed it, it was useless. In the end, Tiju squeezed into a narrow alley and barely escaped with his life. An idea struck me. This tyrant was too powerful. I could not defeat it head-on, but I had a better plan. I controlled lightning to lure the tyrant near the police station. Sumyukin was just returning from gathering supplies. The moment she saw the tyrant, she immediately drew its attention. To protect the people at the police station, while they fought, I would reap the rewards. After a fierce battle with the tyrant, Su Muking realized she could not beat it, so she lured it to a gas station. After shooting the fuel tank, the gas station instantly erupted into a raging inferno. The tyrant struggled out of the sea of flames, its entire body charred black, yet it was somehow still alive. Still, its injuries were extremely severe. I immediately sent Second Fatty and Lightning charging in. The badly wounded tyrant could not withstand. Second Fatty battered it relentlessly with a steel rod, which weighed over a ton. It was soon beaten until it could not stand. Lightning seized the chance to keep cutting it with a steel blade. At last, he killed the tyrant. After taking out the second-tier crystal core, I was overjoyed. But this time, I did not rush to consume it. First, I made little Qiqi's meal and set up the defenses. Only then did I head to Building 4 and swallow the crystal core. Its immense energy propelled me straight into the third tier. My physical abilities underwent a qualitative leap. My mental power surged several-fold. My control range expanded from 10 kilometers to dozens of kilometers. I could control more than 100 ordinary zombie puppets. Even second-tier evolved zombies were easy to control. I could even utterly outpace Lightning, the agile-type zombie. I could drive back Big Fatty, the tank-type zombie, head-on. Now, I finally looked like a true survivor of the apocalypse. Not long after reaching the third tier, I subdued another second-tier tank zombie as large as a compact car. I named it Second Fatty. I gave Second Fatty a metal staff weighing over 100 pounds. One blow from Second Fatty's staff could crush a car into scrap metal, thrown at an enemy. It could even punch through a concrete wall, with Second Fatty guarding the compound entrance. Even evolved zombies dared not come near. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue secretly advanced to the third tier as well. Afterward, her telekinesis grew dramatically stronger. She could launch iron nails at incredible speed. Combined with her time control ability, she could kill without a sound. Across the entire apocalypse, she was already one of humanity's strongest. At some unknown time, a manual for the Blood Fiend blade art appeared at my feet. I thought some mysterious master had left it behind, so I began studying it. Little did I know, Yun Ruoxue had secretly written it in her workbook and tossed it to me. This blade technique used blood as its catalyst to refine fiendish energy. Once mastered, no weapon was needed. The blood fiend energy within one's body became the world's sharpest blade. After practicing it, I improved rapidly. My combat power took a tremendous leap, but the peace was soon shattered. A 5-person team of evolved humans came from a survivor base to Jianghai City for supplies. They discovered that every supply cache near Yangguan compound had been emptied. They followed the zombie puppets hauling supplies and found the compound. That night, they climbed over the wall and slipped inside. But they did not know that the instant they landed, I had already spotted them. My zombie puppet army swiftly surrounded them. Lightning 2, an evolved zombie, instantly cut down one evolved human. Big Fatty's twin hammers sent to close combat evolved humans staggering backward. Amid the melee, I stepped in myself. With one sweeping slash of the Blood Fiend blade art, I struck the last fleeing evolved human cleanly into at the waist. I found survivor base identification on their bodies. I realized human forces were developing faster than I expected. Yangguan compound would be exposed sooner or later. I decided to move. My destination was Qingshui Farm on the outskirts. It was wide open, with land fit for farming, far from human forces, and surrounded by enough zombies to replenish my troops. Most importantly, it could give little Qiqi a better place to grow up. Little Qiqi could not stay trapped in a concrete building forever. She needed sunshine, fresh air, and fresh vegetables. Speaking of vegetables made my heart ache. For so long, the little one had eaten far too little variety. Every day, it was formula, egg-fried rice, and rice cereal. She had not even had a single leaf of greens. Once we reached the farm, I could have zombie puppets clear and cultivate the fields, so little Qiqi could eat fresh fruits and vegetables. Before leaving, there was one more matter to settle. Su Muking. Her resurrection ability was too troublesome. I could neither kill her nor let her go. But since I was leaving this place, I might as well let her go. We would never meet again. I told little Qiqi my decision. She nodded obediently, then asked, "Will sister be willing to come with us?" I knew in my heart that, given Su Muking's personality, she could not abandon the survivors at the police station. She could never leave with us. While I was not paying attention, Yun Ruoxue secretly slipped a note into Su Muking's hand. Qingshui Farm. Before leaving, Su Mukin asked Yun Ruoxue, "Do you still remember our promise?" Ruoxue smiled and said, "If one day you realize this world is not as beautiful as you imagined, when you no longer want to protect everyone else, remember to come protect me, okay?" When Su Mukin limped back to the police station, she saw a scene that shattered her. The survivors she had desperately protected had become monsters who ate people. They had killed every officer who refused to join them. They had even killed Su Mukin herself. Su Mukin resurrected for the third time. Her strength surged once more. She personally executed every cannibal. She spared none. The last young man dropped to his knees and begged, "Officer Su, you are a good person. I only wanted to survive. I did not mean to do it." Su Mukin turned to leave, but a handgun being cocked sounded behind her. She lunged at him like lightning and broke his ribs with one punch. Why did you lie to me?" Looking at the bodies strewn across the ground, Su Mukin felt utterly dead inside. She remembered Yun Ruoxue's words. What if those people were never worth protecting at all? That was right. Such vile beasts. Were they truly worth protecting? Looking at the note in her hand that read, Qingshui Farm, Su Mukin gave one last look to the police station she had planned to devote her life to. Then she turned and vanished into the night. "Little Qiqi, I am coming for you." On the day we set out, 5 heavy trucks rolled grandly out of Yangguang compound. Zombie drivers sat behind every wheel. More than 100 fully armed zombie puppets marched behind them. The sight of zombies driving trucks left survivors along the way with their jaws hanging open. An evolved human searching a store for supplies saw 5 heavy trucks roar past with his own eyes. Every driver's seat held a snarling zombie. Am I hallucinating? Zombies can drive trucks now. Evolved zombies kept appearing along the road, drawn in by the convoy's noise. I accepted everyone, using telekinesis to bring them under my control. The zombie puppet army did not lose a single member. Instead, it kept growing stronger. As we passed near Jianghai City's zoo, a second-tier mutated giant python, golden from head to tail, was coiled across the street, blocking the entire road. It was over 20 meters long, its scales gleaming with a golden sheen. It swallowed the scouting zombie puppets in a single bite. I sent Second Fatty to the front with a steel club. One blow struck the python's head and stunned it. Big Fatty and the other tank zombies blocked both sides, preventing the python from slithering away. Agile zombies swarmed forward, repeatedly slicing the python's body with steel blades. At the critical moment, the tyrant zombie leaped down from a high-rise. Its claws plunged straight into the python's vital point, tearing open a massive wound. Second Fatty followed with a blow that smashed the python's skull. After removing its second-tier crystal core, I decided to let Second Fatty absorb it. Crystal cores below the third tier were no longer useful to me, but they could make my zombie puppets stronger. Quality matters more than quantity. I would forge an elite force made entirely of high-tier evolved zombies. Yun Ruoxue stared at the giant python's enormous corpse, her eyes shining as though stars had appeared in them. "Daddy, I want to eat snake meat." The little one had eaten formula and egg-fried rice every day until she was nearly throwing up. Seeing such a massive snake, she could barely tear herself away. But I was not sure whether humans could eat mutated beast meat, so I could only keep it in mind for now, and find a human survivor to use as a guinea pig. Once I know it is safe, I will cook it for you. Yun Ruoxue was a little disappointed, but she understood her daddy's caution. She knew perfectly well that mutated beast meat was not only edible, but exceptionally nourishing. But she had no way to explain it. The convoy continued onward. The high-rises on either side gradually disappeared, replaced by desolate but open countryside. I checked the map. We would reach Qingshui Farm in a little over 10 minutes. The evening sun stained the sky blood red. I watched the scenery slide past the window, then glanced beside me at little Qiqi, quietly leaning by the window and looking outside. The sunset's last glow was reflected in her eyes. Since her rebirth, this was her first time leaving Yangguang compound to see the outside world. I reached out and gently pinched her little cheek. Little Qiqi looked up and gave me a sweet smile. "Daddy, the outside world is so big." It is. The outside world is vast, and it is dangerous too. But no matter what this world becomes, as long as little Qiqi is by my side, everything has meaning. On the distant horizon, the outline of a vast farm flickered in and out of view beneath the sunset. That was our new home, Qingshui Farm. And behind us, in the ruins of Jianghai City, dozens of kilometers away. A figure radiating a terrifying aura was racing after us along the tire tracks. The warmth and kindness in Sum Yukin's eyes had vanished. In their place were coldness and resolve. Yet when she remembered the little girl clutching a bottle of milk, smiling at her, the corners of her mouth still lifted slightly without her realizing it. After arriving at Qingshui Farm, following the map's directions, I drove along a forest path for a while, until I finally saw the sign for the farm entrance. On either side of the steel gate stood walls made of wooden stakes and wire fencing. High-voltage warning signs hung on the fence. The wire fencing bore signs of being forcibly breached. Sitting in the truck, I surveyed the farm with satisfaction. Qingshui Farm was quiet and isolated, unlikely to draw unwanted attention. It was far larger than Yangguang compound, with room for Qiqi and me, as well as my vast zombie puppet army. Most importantly, it did not feel so suffocating here. It was the perfect place for the little girl to grow up. "Daddy, are we here?" Yun Ruoxue stretched lazily. I nodded. First, I sent a squad of zombie puppets through the breached fence to investigate the farm. The instant they entered, my brow furrowed tightly. The farm was covered in dried, dark brown bloodstains. I focused on finding the vegetable garden, only to find every vegetable patch destroyed. Huge footprints marked the ground as well. It seemed mutated animals were living on the farm. Just then, sounds of fighting and animal roars came from deeper inside. I guided the zombie puppets toward the sound. In the poultry rearing area, they found a mutated giant bull. Most absurdly, this yellow bull had grown fangs more outrageous than a lion's or tiger's. It was chewing on the corpse of some unknown animal. After the apocalypse, even cows had turned carnivorous. When the giant bull spotted the zombie puppets, it charged without hesitation. This thing had already reached the second tier. Ordinary zombie puppets were no match for it. I sent Second Fatty and Tyrant Number 1 to fight it. Second Fatty smashed his club into the giant bull's head, leaving it seeing stars. Tyrant Number 1 seized the chance to tear a massive wound with its claws. But the giant bull's hide had evolved to be incredibly tough. Fortunately, it did not know how to dodge. After several exchanges, it finally fell. The tyrant's claws pierced its skull. We removed a fist-sized, orange-yellow second-tier crystal core. After dealing with the giant bull, I continued searching. By the fish pond on the western side, I found a broad trail where something had crawled along the shore. When I guided a zombie puppet toward the water, a giant soft-shelled turtle suddenly burst from the pond. It bit straight through the zombie puppet's ankle. What a huge turtle! Its shell was unbelievably hard. When a zombie puppet punched it, the backlash snapped its wrist outright. For now, I had no intention of killing it. I stationed the zombie puppets on the shore. They only needed to keep it from coming ashore. They say turtles live forever, or so the saying goes. Once I confirmed mutated beast meat was edible, I would save it to nourish Qiqi. After combing through the entire farm twice and confirming it was safe, I began a full-scale cleanup. Once the residential area looked brand new, I finally took Qiqi's hand and entered the farm. "Is this where Daddy and I will live from now on? It really does look quite nice." Yun Ruoxue curiously looked around, her eyes brimming with anticipation. After settling in, my first priority was security. Second Fatty guarded the southern gate with his massive club. Lightning numbers 1, 2, and 3 each led a squad of zombie puppets to guard the other 3 sides. Big Fatty and Tyrant Number 1 stayed close to protect Qiqi. I turned the entire farm into an iron cage that would be nearly impossible to breach. Watching Qiqi sleep peacefully, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Sleep peacefully, little Qiqi. From now on, Qingshui Farm is our new home. When Qiqi woke the next morning, I had already prepared breakfast. There was also a plate of fresh fruit on the table. The orchard north of the farm still had plenty of fruit hanging from its trees. Qiqi's eyes lit up. The fragrance of the fruit nearly intoxicated her. After eating her fill, she went outside. She saw squads of fully armed zombies patrolling the farm in orderly formation. Daddy really is amazing. His ability to control these zombies far surpassed that of an ordinary zombie king. She hugged my leg, begging sweetly to go exploring. I gave in. I took her hand and led her to the vegetable plots. Qiqi saw the zombies I controlled working the fields and was utterly shocked. In my previous life, I came from the countryside. I used to farm with my grandparents, so I knew quite a bit about farming. I was confident I could restore the ruined vegetable plots. Meanwhile, I fed the 2 second-tier mutated beast crystal cores I had acquired earlier to Second Fatty. Second Fatty advanced to the 3rd tier. His body swelled like an inflating balloon, as large as a cargo truck. Jet black scales even began growing across his body. They were impervious to blades and bullets alike. I tested them with a machete, leaving only faint scuff marks on the scales. Second Fatty had become the zombie world's main battle tank. With this 3rd tier powerhouse guarding the gate, my confidence soared. I had also found a new path to greater strength. Since high-tier zombies were so scarce, I would raise zombie puppets myself with crystal cores. Qiqi had not been idle either. She secretly went to the fish pond to feed that old mutated turtle. For 3 straight days, she fed it mutated giant python meat, with her own blood hidden inside the meat. On the 3rd day, she used the ancient beast taming art she had obtained in a secret realm in her previous life. She formed a contract with the giant turtle. From then on, she could give the old turtle simple commands, and even communicate with it mentally. She also taught the old turtle a breathing cultivation technique, planning to raise it into a mighty giant turtle like the black tortoise from her previous life. I knew nothing of any of this. I only thought Qiqi liked the old turtle as a pet, so I let her do as she pleased. Next, I built Qiqi a small amusement park. I hauled back a carousel and other rides from an amusement park downtown. Since there was no electricity, I had zombies push them by hand instead. When Qiqi saw it, she was not truly interested in children's rides, but she knew it was Daddy's heartfelt gift. So she played along and acted delighted. But having been an orphan in her previous life, she had never known such a carefree childhood. Now, her childlike spirit awakened, and she played to her heart's content. As we chased each other on the carousel, if you ignore the zombie puppets pushing it by hand, it would have been an incredibly heartwarming scene. But while Lightning Number 1 shuttled back and forth transporting rides, an evolved human named Lin Moyan, who possessed invisibility, had been watching from the shadows. He followed Lightning Number 1's truck all the way to Qingshui Farm. The sight inside the farm shattered his entire worldview. Then he discovered a human little girl living among a horde of zombies. He guessed that Qiqi was controlling those zombies. Greed immediately took hold of him. He wanted to take her hostage and seize the zombie army. Lin Moyan turned invisible and slipped into Qiqi's bedroom. Just as his dagger was about to fall, his entire body froze in place. Yun Ruoxue had stopped time. Then she leaped up and delivered a mighty slap that sent him flying. Next, she used a soul artifact technique from a secret realm in her previous life to imprint a blood-red rune in his mind, gaining complete control over his life and death. Do you want to die, or do you want to live? Lin Moyan chose to submit without hesitation. Yun Ruoxue ordered him to infiltrate the Jianghai city survivor base as a spy and return regularly with intelligence. I knew nothing about it. I only saw Qiqi happily playing on the farm every day. A few more days passed. I hunted evolved zombies in the city, stockpiling crystal cores as I went. By chance, I ran into Su Mukin again on a nearby street. Damn it. What was this woman doing here? As it turned out, after what happened at the police station, Su Mukin had followed us all this way to find Qiqi. She had been in a terrible state along the way, harassed by that spiteful burrowing zombie, until she was nearly driven to a nervous breakdown. I knocked her out and chained her beside the playground slide. But this time, Su Mukin seemed to have changed completely. After the survivors at the police station betrayed her, she had completely lost faith in humanity. All she wanted was to protect Qiqi. Qiqi took the chance to win her over little by little, bringing her meals and talking with her. For the first time since the apocalypse, Su Mukin had food and water, and a peaceful life free from constant fear. Even she had to admit it. Living with the Zombie King was more comfortable than living among humans. Meanwhile, I continued building my strength. I scoured Jiangnan district for evolved zombies, feeding crystal cores to my zombie puppets until I had over 30 at the 2nd tier. One night, after hunting mutated beast on Huanglong Mountain, I obtained a 3rd tier crystal core, together with the harvest from the stadium zombie breeding grounds, which I kept reaping. I finally gathered enough resources to break through to the 4th tier. I swallowed for 3rd tier crystal cores at once, and broke through to the 4th tier on the spot. My mental power surged several-fold, and my control range exceeded 50 kilometers. My physical body transformed completely. Apart from my dark red pupils, I was nearly indistinguishable from a living person. After that, I raised for 4th tier zombie puppets in one go. Meanwhile, Yun Ruoxue secretly broke through to the 4th tier as well. Her telekinesis grew strong enough to let her fly for long periods, and she could use all kinds of elemental secret arts. She used a spirit linking art to control a little bee and monitor the farm inside and out. While I was not paying attention, she used a blood refining art on the bloodthirsty demonic vines surrounding the farm, bringing them under her control. Those bloodthirsty demonic vines were mutated plants I had transplanted from Huanglong Mountain. They could suck living creatures dry, flesh and blood alike, yet they had no reaction at all to zombies. I planted them 1 kilometer outside the farm as a defensive line, but after Qiqi refined them further with blood, that defensive line became a killing formation she could command at will. But danger was closing in. The Jianghai survivor base, after a zombie horde appeared in the subway, publicly acknowledged the existence of zombie kings for the first time. Wang Zheng's team's earlier encounter in Jiangnan district had drawn the leadership's attention. They dispatched a reconnaissance squad made up of Lin Moyan and other invisible evolvers to investigate the matter. When Yun Ruoxue sensed Lin Moyan approaching, she flew out of the farm that very night to meet him. She ordered him to report back that they had found no zombie king. But she also killed the disobedient squad leader and used a soul artifact to control the other 3. But Wang Zheng was extremely perceptive. Once he sensed something was wrong with the invisible squad, he set a trap and hypnotized them for interrogation. The soul artifact's restriction activated, and all 4 invisible evolvers died on the spot. So there was a problem after all. Even as Wang Zheng reeled in shock, he became even more certain a zombie king was hiding in Jiangnan district. After the news was reported, the base's supreme commander flew into a rage. He decided to send 3 elite teams to Jiangnan district to carry out the capture operation. Yun Ruoxue sensed that Lin Moyan and the others had died. A violent tremor shook her soul. She knew their cover had been blown. A storm was coming, but she was not alarmed. With their current strength, as long as humans did not deploy a large armed force, an evolver squad alone would be no match for her and Dad. She devoted herself fully to training. Once she reached the 5th tier, even if a human army armed with modern weapons came after her, she was confident she could handle it. I knew nothing of these hidden currents. Still hunting mutated beast on Huanglong Mountain to gather crystal cores for my zombie puppet army. 3 elite squads landed outside Jiangnan district. Wang Zheng served as overall commander, with captains Li Feng and Jianghai assisting him. Among them was an evolver codenamed Falcon, who could share the vision of his bonded mutated black eagle. Falcon soon spotted something. My God, a zombie really is driving. He saw an evolved zombie driving a truck through the district, hauling mutated beast flesh to the stadium to feed the zombie horde. Wang Zheng made a swift decision. Keep that truck in sight. See where it goes. I remained completely unaware. After I controlled my zombie puppet to feed the stadium zombies, it drove back to Qingshui Farm. Above the truck, the black eagle followed like a shadow. The black eagle followed the truck all the way to the outskirts of Qingshui Farm. Through the eagle's eyes, Falcon took in the farm's entire layout. Found it. That zombie drove the truck into a farm on the outskirts. Falcon reported in a low voice. The farm's defenses are extremely tight. There is also a vast patch of blood-red vines outside the walls. At the entrance stands a giant zombie as tall as a 2-story building. The faces of Wang Zheng and the other 2 changed at once. The zombie king's lair is in that farm. Jianghai swallowed hard. That big thing at the entrance must be a 3rd tier or higher tank type zombie, with defenses like that. I also saw inside the farm several abnormally huge evolved zombies patrolling. Their auras were incredibly powerful. At least 4 or 5 were 3rd tier. But Falcon could not see the whole place. The black eagle could not fly low enough to fully scout it. What do we do? Attack directly? Li Feng asked with a frown. Wang Zheng shook his head. No. We do not know enough yet. A reckless assault is too risky. Send the intelligence back to the base first. Let the higher-ups decide our next move. And those blood-red vines look wrong. They seem to be some kind of mutated plant. They could be defenses set up by the zombie king. What about that mysterious little girl? If the zombie king's lair is at this farm, then that little girl is likely inside too. But the greatest threat right now is not the little girl. It is the zombie king himself. If we alert him, we will all die here. After discussing it, the 3 decided not to act yet. They sent the farm's location and defensive details back to Jianghai base through their communications equipment, then waited for orders from above. The report quickly reached the Supreme Commander. The meeting room fell into a heavy silence once again. Commander, Wang Zheng's team has confirmed the location. The farm's defenses are extremely tight. At least several evolved zombies of the 3rd tier or above are stationed there. There is also a defensive line of unknown mutated plants outside the walls. Third-tier zombies? The Supreme Commander furrowed his brow. How many third-tier revolvers does our base currently have? No more than 10, and they are scattered across different posts. It would be difficult to pull them all out. The meeting room fell silent. Everyone understood that with the base's current strength, to force an assault on a stronghold guarded by multiple third-tier zombies would offer almost no chance of victory. We cannot force this. The Supreme Commander made the final call. Increase surveillance first. Determine the Zombie King's movements and the limits of his strength. Report to the Imperial capital as well, and request reinforcements. Also, accelerate the training of our own high-tier revolvers. Before reinforcements from the Imperial capital arrive, we must not alert them. What they did not know was that Erpeng, the one guarding the farm entrance, had already reached the 4th tier, including my true body. Qingshui Farm actually had 6 4th-tier fighters, yet they were still judging my strength by 3rd-tier standards. Inside Qingshui Farm, I finished a day of hunting and returned home. I made Qiqi a lavish dinner. Qiqi ate happily, smiling at me with grains of rice at the corner of her mouth. Su Mukin obediently ate the food Qiqi had brought her, sneaking glances at me as she ate. Why has the Zombie King changed so drastically again? If you did not look closely, you would think he was alive. She was stunned. A shocking thought rose in her mind. Could this Zombie King eventually evolve into a living human? That night, Qiqi suddenly came to see Su Mukin. If humans come after my dad, whose side will you take? Su Mukin was silent for a long time. She gave no answer. Qiqi did not seem to mind. As she turned to leave, she said, "Forget it. There is no point telling you." Su Mukin sat weakly on the bed, watching Qiqi's retreating figure. Her emotions churned inside her. Humans and the Zombie King were bound to become enemies. But Su Mukin remembered what had happened to her at the police station. Then she thought of this farm. Every day, Qiqi brought her food and kept her company. Though the Zombie King kept her chained like a pet, he had never truly harmed her. Suddenly, she felt ridiculous. Su Mukin lay back on the bed, staring at the slide above her. She did not sleep all night. Meanwhile, on high ground dozens of kilometers away, Wang Zheng's Black Eagle still circled above Qingshui Farm. Falcon suddenly opened his eyes. Captain Wang, a truck just left the farm. It is heading toward Wanglong Mountain again. Wang Zheng nodded. Keep watching it. Record its daily routine. Departure time, route and return time. Write down everything, and find a way to get a clear look at the farm's core area, especially where the Zombie King's true body is. The Black Eagle circled silently high above, taking in everything at Qingshui Farm. Yun Ruoxue sat swinging back and forth on a swing. The hem of her white dress fluttered in the breeze. A bright smile lit up her rosy little face. Little Qiqi, it looks like the problem is solved. Leaning against the slide, Su Mukin watched Qiqi. You finally came out today. Yun Ruoxue nodded. Even if Jianghai base sends more people to the farm now, they will only be marching to their deaths. Then, little Qiqi, you will come out every day from now on, right? Su Mukin sounded hopeful. Being alone in the playground, she was bored out of her mind. Of course. Yun Ruoxue nodded earnestly. Since she wanted to win over this 9 lives demon cop, she naturally had to build a bond with her. Su Mukin suddenly said seriously, I will help you and your dad. Yun Ruoxue understood. This was Su Mukin's answer to the question Yun Ruoxue had asked her that day. The answer took her by surprise. After all, Su Mukin was loyal to the authorities and valued protecting survivors above her own life. Why? Because I promised to protect you. Su Mukin said solemnly. She believed the Zombie King possessed human consciousness and had never slaughtered humans. With little Qiqi as his bond, the Zombie King was not aggressive. But if humans ever harmed little Qiqi, no one knew whether the Zombie King would go berserk. Meanwhile, the Black Eagle followed the truck out of Jianghai district. It reached the skies above the suburban farm. Through the eagle's eyes, Falcon took in the entire farm. But what shocked him most was a little girl swinging on a swing, with a human woman beside her, leaning against the slide and chatting with her. Captains, I found that mysterious little girl. There is also a human woman with her. When the report came back, the 3 captains exchanged looks. Wang Lei said grimly, could it be that this little girl is the Zombie King? Yun Ruoxue suddenly felt the uneasy sensation of being watched. Secretly, she sent her telekinetic power surging outward like a tide. She found a Black Eagle circling overhead. This was no wild mutated beast. It was an evolver's bonded beast. Yun Ruoxue quickly understood. Jianghai base. Must have sent more people. She immediately launched a telekinetic attack. An invisible psychic blade pierced the Black Eagle's brain. The Black Eagle wobbled in midair. Falcon thought it was exhausted and hurriedly recalled it. Yun Ruoxue smiled knowingly, then took control of a sparrow and sent it after them. The sparrow followed them all the way, and eventually, in a ravine beyond the city, found 3 evolver squads. Through the sparrow, Yun Ruoxue heard their entire plan for a nighttime raid. What amused her most was that these people had mistaken her for the zombie king. When Yun Ruoxue's consciousness returned, little Qiqi ran straight to me, pointing at the sky. Dad, I saw someone flying overhead just now. Someone flying? Could human evolvers have discovered the farm? After confirming it with little Qiqi, I concluded the farm had been exposed. Faced with these suddenly appearing evolvers, my heart grew heavy. I immediately recalled the entire corpse puppet army. The 4th tier corpse puppets were all summoned near the house to protect Qiqi. Sumyukin also sensed that something was wrong. Little Qiqi, what is going on? What else could it be besides human evolvers coming here to cause trouble? Little Qiqi, could you ask your dad to unkind me? I can help too. Yun Ruoxue smiled and shook her head. We do not need you for now. My dad can handle it. Night fell. I sat in the living room, eyes closed in concentration. Through my corpse puppet's eyes, I watched the farm inside and out. In the woods 2 kilometers from the farm, 3 evolver squads emerged. The target is just ahead. Everyone, be careful. Wanlei looked grim. A little beyond a branch was watching them. The fools who came here to die have arrived. Disdain flashed in Yun Ruoxue's eyes. As the 3 squads approached the bloodthirsty vine wall, they crouched down to cut through the vines. Bloodthirsty demon vines pierced straight through 3 of their bodies. They ravenously devoured their flesh, blood, and life force. This is bad. There is something wrong with this vine wall. By the time Wanlei and the others reacted, 5 people had already been swallowed by the vine wall. More people were pierced amid the chaos. Through my corpse puppet's eyes, I also spotted the intruders. Fine, fine, fine. Since you are begging to die, I will grant your wish. I directed the 4th tier corpse puppets to converge on the residential area. Tyrant number 1 and Erpang charged out first. Erpang brought his club crashing down, shattering the leading evolver. Along with his stone shield, Flame number 1 raised both hands. More than 10 massive fireballs rained from the sky and exploded among them. For slower evolvers, were instantly swallowed by the flames. The remaining 6 were blasted away, their bodies charred black. Burrower number 1 then raised an earthen wall, trapping the survivors inside. Zombies slowly advanced within the walls. Someone tried to scale the high wall, but Flame number 1, waiting outside, killed him with a fireball. Captain Lee scrambled over the wall amid the chaos to escape, but Tyrant number 1 was waiting outside. One punch smashed him into the ground. Captain Lin, the others are dead, right? But I did not notice that one evolver had used a substitute ability to slip away unnoticed. Through the bloodthirsty vine's vision, Yun Ruoxue noticed a corpse that had not been devoured. One got away. Yun Ruoxue's brow furrowed deeply. The enemy must have escaped using a clone ability. Still, her own strength had not been exposed. They had even mistaken her for the zombie king. Perhaps, in their next clash, she could give them a surprise. That night, Sumyukin tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. Then an idea came to her. What if she could stop humanity from attacking the zombie king and make both sides live in peace? Jin Yun brought back news that the 3 squads had been completely wiped out. The zombie king has several 4th-tier evolved zombies under his command, as well as demonic vines that attack humans. Jin Yun said, trembling. When the news spread, the supreme commander immediately decided to seek aid from the imperial capital. Yun Ruoxue persuaded me to remove Sumyukin's chains, and Sumyukin asked to speak with me. In the living room, Sumyukin went straight to the point. Zombie king, you still possess human consciousness, do you not? My gaze turned cold. This was my deepest secret. I wrote. Go on. Sumyukin took a deep breath. Little Qiqi is human, after all. You do not want her to live among zombies for the rest of her life, do you? Her words left me silent. If one day I become humanity's leader, would you be willing to live peacefully with humans? Both Yun Ruoxue and I were stunned by her words, but I did not reject her outright. Talk to me when you truly become humanity's leader. The next day, Yun Ruoxue decided to reveal some of her power to me, so I would feel safe unchaining Sumyukin. Dad, I think I have awakened a superpower. She spread her arms and flew around the room. I was overjoyed. Little Qiqi had become an evolver. I began training little Qiqi in earnest. I had her practice attacking with iron nails, and prepared poison needles for her to use as hidden weapons. Little Qiqi was my greatest trump card. Jianghai base city finally received a response from the imperial capital. They were sending the Sky Squad as reinforcements. Every member of the Sky Squad was a third-tier flying evolver. A formation of 5 armed helicopters quickly flew in and launched a fierce bombardment on the farm. Damn it, my damn farm. But the 4th-tier corpse puppets were unharmed. Flame number 1 and Flame number 2 transformed into fire giants, forming a sky-spanning net of fire that trapped the Sky Squad in midair. Undying number 1's bloodthirsty thunder orb and bloodthirsty divine light, together with tyrant number 1's steel claws, slaughtered the evolvers trying to break through. From the shadows, Yun Ruoxue used her time manipulation, along with poison needles, to eliminate several enemies charging toward the house. Su Muqing risked her life to shield little Qiqi. Her abdomen was pierced, and she fell into a pool of blood, but she soon revived and threw herself back into battle. The 3 elite squads and the Sky Squad were completely wiped out. Only Jin Yun, with his body double ability, escaped once again. The farm was left unrecognizable. I decided not to rebuild it. This place had been exposed. Wherever little Qiqi goes from now on, that will be home. I wrote on paper, Su Muqing, stay with us. Come with us. After the convoy left the farm, we headed south and reached Baikan City. I unleashed a zombie horde to harvest evolved zombies, while wiping out the Dragon Tiger gang that ruled the area. Zhang King, the Dragon Tiger gang's second in command, escaped with the flying evolver and fled to Baikan Bay City to report us. After I harvested every evolved zombie in Baikan City, the convoy set out again. After reaching the 5th tier, my mental power surged. My control range exceeded 50 kilometers, allowing me to command vast numbers of 4th-tier corpse puppets at once. I already had 3 5th-tier corpse puppets under my command, but Shandian City was completely different. Ferocious beasts were everywhere. I led my army of corpse puppets on a massive hunt through the city, collecting huge numbers of crystal cores. After wiping out the Beast King cult occupying Kangyi Mountain, I ransacked their caves for supplies and vegetables. Before the Beast King cult's guardian died, he mentioned their leader had gone to subdue a 5th-tier ferocious beast. That put me on guard. Huang Zhuan, the Beast King cult's leader, soon came looking for us. Before the apocalypse, he had merely been an enforcer for illegal moneylenders. He rose to power after awakening a beast-taming ability. His sister had been driven to her death by the powerful. He wanted to use Thunder Roar's power to destroy Shandian Bay City. We share a common enemy. Join forces with me. Su Muqing refused without hesitation. Sorry, I am not interested. After Huang Zhuan was flatly rebuffed, he sent a mutated pangolin that night to ambush little Qiqi from underground. But Yun Ruoxue killed the pangolin in one strike. Huang Zhuan fled in terror, revealing our location to Jianghai Bay City. In Shandian City, Yun Ruoxue successfully reached the 5th tier. Her telekinetic power could even form tangible telekinetic needles that pierced walls. Her time manipulation had also grasped the deeper mysteries of time, letting her make targets wither in an instant. With the aid of her cultivation technique and real combat, Su Muqing also reached the 4th tier. And Zhao Lin, from now on, you will be the Black Bull Knight. No, absolutely not. Su Muqing bristled in outrage. The Imperial capital deployed its strongest ace team, the Soaring Dragon Squad. This squad had successfully killed the Zombie King before. The key player was Zhao Bing, a master of disguise. He could disguise himself as any living creature and infiltrate enemy ranks. Their plan was to use the same trick again. The outer force would draw attention, while Zhao Bing disguised himself as a zombie and infiltrated. Once he found the Zombie King, he would kill it in one strike. One night, Yun Ruoxue finally found the courage to confess to me. Dad, I can actually control time. She used her power to make a pot of green potatoes with her instantly. A piece of snake meat shriveled into stone in an instant. Even as shock seized me, I became even more curious. But little Qiqi revealed something even more shocking. Dad, I am actually already a 5th-tier evolver. I stood there completely stunned, but I did not press her for answers. As long as she was my daughter, that was enough. Dad, from now on, I will protect you. Little Qiqi raised her tiny fist, her smile radiant. I rubbed her head, my heart warm with pride. After the convoy entered Lijiang City, As usual, I controlled my corpse puppets to harvest zombie crystal cores. But Lijiang-based city reacted swiftly. They deployed all their forces and launched a fierce assault on Henji residential complex. Flame number 1's fire spirit body was immune to physical attacks, but the volley from self-propelled howitzers caught me completely off guard. At the critical moment, Yun Ruoxue struck in a fury. No one is allowed to hurt my dad. Time manipulation. She unleashed it at full power. Driven by telekinesis, every shell flew back along its original path, wiping out the entire heavy artillery regiment. The survivors fled in panic, only to be hunted down by my army of corpse puppets. Only one evolver escaped by teleporting away with the commander in his arms. In this battle, Lijiang-based city's attacking force was nearly annihilated. I watched little Qiqi reveal her terrifying strength. Pride swelled in my heart. The moment she made a move, she sent the human forces into total disarray. Even one of my 5th-tier corpse puppets might be no match for her. Meanwhile, far away, the soaring dragon squad's helicopters were flying toward Shanchuan City. The sentinel, who could disguise himself as any living creature, was wiping the battle blade in his hand, wearing a confident smile. Do not worry, Captain. This mission, I guarantee I will complete it. After the battle at Lijiang ended, I sat on the living room sofa, scanning our surroundings through my corpse puppet's eyes. Dad, we cannot stay here any longer. Yun Ruoxue walked over to me, her face grave. I nodded. I had already considered that. That battle just now, though we won it, came at Jianghai, we were exposed. Sum Yukin came over from the window, her face still dusty from the battle. Lin Moyan, we need to leave now. Lijiang-based city reacts far too quickly. If they bring in reinforcements, we could be surrounded. Half an hour later, the convoy sped south along Lijiang City's main road. I deliberately chose a route leading away from the base city. Through flying number 1's aerial reconnaissance, I confirmed that Lijiang-based city's remaining forces SHOWED no sign of pursuing us for now. The convoy traveled at full speed for 2 hours and finally left Lijiang City's limits. Dad, where are we going next? Yun Ruoxue leaned against the rear window, her little face pressed to the glass as she looked outside. I unfolded the map, my eyes sweeping across Jiang Province. South lay Lin'an City. Farther south, we would leave Jiang Province. Between all the base cities in Jiang Province, an intelligence network had already formed. There was no way to hide my movements. But once we left Jiang Province, information would travel far slower between base cities in different provinces. By the time other provinces reacted, I would be long gone. Leave Jiang Province? Sum Yukin looked surprised. Leave the province? That is a long way to go. Farther is better. Yun Ruoxue answered for me. If we stay in Jiang Province, they will find us sooner or later. Sum Yukin thought it over and did not object again. The convoy continued south. Along the way, I casually harvested another batch of zombie crystal cores. By evening, we set up camp beside an abandoned gas station. A campfire crackled to life. Sum Yukin placed a grilled rib on little Qiqi's plate, then took a huge swig of beer herself. Little Qiqi, with your dad's cooking skills, do you think he was a chef before the apocalypse? Maybe he was. Yun Ruoxue accepted the rib with a smile. I sat in the front passenger seat, studying the map. From here to the Jiang Province border, there were still around 100 kilometers left. But the problem was, Lin'an City stood directly in our path. Its urban district stretched from north to south. Going around it was nearly impossible. We could only pass through the city. And Lin'an surely had a base city. I frowned. If Lijiang Base City had already spread the news, Lin'an Base City was likely waiting in full readiness. When we crossed the city, we might be headed for another brutal battle. Yun Ruoxue seemed to sense my worry. She trotted over and pressed herself to the car window to study the map. Dad, are you thinking about Lin'an City? I nodded. Do not worry. I am here. She clenched her tiny fist, her eyes utterly serious. That little girl. I could not help smiling. I reached out and pinched her chubby cheek. But in that brief moment of peace, through flying number 1's eyes, I spotted on the northern horizon several tiny black dots, racing toward us high in the sky. My expression instantly turned cold. They were not helicopters from Lijiang Base City. Jiaolin, get little Qiqi into the car. I tossed the note to Sum Yukin. Sum Yukin did not hesitate. Sum Yukin scooped up Yun Ruoxue and ran for the car. Yun Ruoxue's gaze sharpened. 3 helicopters. They are not from Lijiang. Sum Yukin's face changed as well. But after circling several kilometers north of us for a while, the helicopters vanished from sight. I did not lower my guard. I controlled flying number 1 to follow them discreetly. Through flying number 1's eyes, I saw 7 well-equipped soldiers disembark from the helicopters. The crew-cut man leading them radiated a 4th-tier aura. After the 7 men got off the helicopters, they immediately set up camp. These people were not ordinary. They were either elites from a major base city or agents sent by the imperial capital. At the thought of the imperial capital, my heart tightened. After I wiped out the Sky Squad at Qingshui Farm, this could be the imperial capital's second A squad. I decided not to act for now. I had flying number 1 continue monitoring them, while ordering the convoy to kill its engines and hide in the darkness. After the 7-man squad made camp, they repeatedly checked maps and documents. They were clearly carrying out a mission. This was no coincidence. They had come for me. Yun Ruoxue was not asleep either. She sat cross-legged in the back seat, cultivating, sensing the change in my mood. "Dad, is something wrong?" I wrote on the paper. "A 7-man squad has arrived north of us. They are well-equipped, possibly from the imperial capital. They may be looking for us." After Yun Ruoxue read it, she frowned slightly. If they are an ace squad from the imperial capital, they likely have people with special abilities. The Sky Squad was entirely made up of aerial ability users. This time, they may have someone even more troublesome. That was what worried me most. Suddenly, from the 7-man squad, a tall, thin young man left the camp and walked alone into the nearby woods. Once he entered the forest, his aura suddenly changed from a human's into that of a zombie. This man could disguise himself as a zombie. In an instant, I understood their strategy. Had I not known beforehand, this imposter could have infiltrated my corpse puppet forces, then struck without warning once he got close to me. The previous zombie king was likely killed this way. Little Qiqi was in trouble. I told Yun Ruoxue about the imposter. After Yun Ruoxue finished reading, her expression became extremely grave. Disguising himself as a zombie, the innocence faded from her little face, replaced by a sharp gaze. That ability is truly troublesome. If his disguise is perfect enough, even your spiritual power, Dad, might not be able to identify him. But I can. Her voice was calm and confident. Time manipulation. Zombies and humans sense the flow of time in every living being. Time manipulation. Zombies and humans have different flows of time. A zombie's aging process has already stopped, but no matter how a human disguises himself, the flow of time within his body remains normal. As long as I sense it carefully, I will definitely expose him. That put my mind at ease, but I still did not want to underestimate them. "We are changing the plan," I wrote on the paper. "We are not going through Linan City. We will take the mountain roads out of the province." Sum Yukin woke up then, rubbing her eyes as she leaned over to read the note. "Editor, that will add several days to the trip. Better a few extra days than walking into an ambush." Sum Yukin looked at our expressions and did not ask another question. Before dawn, I deliberately chose a remote mountain path. The road was incredibly difficult, but it offered excellent cover. Still, I underestimated their tracking ability. After the convoy had traveled for about 3 hours, I received word that the 7-man squad had broken camp and was moving south. Their route ran parallel to ours. They were tracking us from flying number 1's aerial view. I spotted a mutated bird of prey circling high above the convoy. Shooting it down would only alert them. They would likely change tactics immediately, abandoning their ambush for a direct assault. After thinking it over, since they wanted to use an imposter to assassinate me, I would beat them at their own game. I told Yun Ruoxue and Sum Yukin the plan. "Dad, you mean we deliberately leave an opening, lure that imposter inside, then wipe them all out?" Sum Yukin, however, hesitated. "It is too risky. What if that imposter's ability is stronger than we think? With me here, he will not cause any trouble." Yun Ruoxue patted her little chest. Sum Yukin looked at Qiqi and remembered yesterday, when she redirected every shell fired by the heavy artillery regiment. She quietly fell silent, following the plan. At dusk, the convoy stopped in an open river valley and made camp. I deliberately deployed only a few corpse puppets, hiding the high-tier corpse puppets in the surrounding woods. From the outside, the camp's defenses appeared full of holes. After nightfall, I sat by the campfire, pretending to relax, while my spiritual power was fully spread out. Yun Ruoxue lay asleep in the tent, but her time manipulation remained active, sensing everything. Su Muking, on the other hand, was genuinely asleep. At midnight, my spiritual power detected something unusual. At the edge of the camp, an ordinary zombie was slowly approaching. He looked no different from any other zombie, but his route was far too deliberate. He avoided the patrolling corpse puppets and headed through gaps in the defenses toward the heart of camp. I did not alert him. Instead, I continued pretending not to notice. The zombie drew closer and closer. He had reached the edge of the camp. His gaze swept over the area beside the campfire, before finally locking onto me. With a dagger in hand, he charged at me. Just as the imposter came within 5 meters of me, his time stopped. Yun Ruoxue stepped out of the tent, her little face ice-cold. "He really is human," she said calmly. "There is no flow of time inside a zombie. His heart is still beating." I stood up and walked over to inspect the imposter. This man's disguise, from his appearance to his aura, was nearly flawless. Without Yun Ruoxue's time manipulation, I might not have seen through him right away. The next moment, I released my spiritual power toward the 5th-tier corpse puppets hidden in the woods, giving the signal for an all-out attack. At the 7-man squad's temporary camp several kilometers away, they instantly felt overwhelming killing intent. Damn it, the scout has been exposed. Qingshui, the buzz-cut man leading them, went pale. He sprang to his feet. Everyone, prepare for battle. But it was already too late. Flame number 1's fire spirit blood flame struck first. In less than 10 seconds, the 3 helicopters became 3 massive fireballs. Our escape route is gone. One evolver's face turned deathly pale. Undead number 1 followed close behind. A crimson glow engulfed an evolver using his ability. His body suddenly moved beyond his control, flying toward Undead number 1. The next moment, the blood spirit serpent pierced through his chest. Flying number 1 swooped down from above, unleashing its skyborn domain. Within the spherical slowing field, the ranged attacks launched by 2 evolvers slowed instantly, their power dropping to nearly nothing. But flying number 1's steel claws were unaffected. Qingshui's ability was metallized skin. His entire body was covered in silver metal armor, granting him tremendous defense. Second Fatty brought his club down. The metal armor dented under the blow, but did not shatter. Then the second strike followed immediately. The metal armor exploded apart. Qingshui spat blood and was hurled away. Before he hit the ground, Undead number 1's long tongue caught up to him. Qingshui died on the spot. Through the corpse puppet's eyes, I confirmed that the 7-man squad had no survivors. As I breathed a sigh of relief, I returned to camp and looked at the imposter still frozen in place. What should we do with him? Su Muking had also been awakened by the commotion. She came out wearing a jacket, startled by what she saw. "Kill him," Yun Ruoxue said calmly. She waved her hand, and a psychic needle pierced the imposter's forehead. Time manipulation was released. The imposter's body crumpled to the ground. Returning to its human form, Su Muking crouched down and found an identification card in the corpse's inner breast pocket. Tanglong's squad. I was not particularly shaken, but Yun Ruoxue's reaction surprised me. She stared at the identification card for a long time. The Imperial capital has sent 8 squads in a row, and both were wiped out. Next time, they probably will not send another squad. What will they send? An army. Yun Ruoxue raised her head, her eyes dark and profound. Once the Imperial capital confirms the destruction of both elite squads, they will classify my dad as the highest level threat. When that happens, their pursuit will intensify exponentially. The destruction of 2 elite squads will only make the Imperial capital even more certain of the Zombie King's danger. They will not give up. They will only escalate. So, we need to act quickly, I wrote on the paper. That night, the convoy set out and drove through the night, with no further stops. I had flying number 1 scout continuously from above, to ensure no pursuers were following us. As we neared the outskirts of Lin'an City, I decided not to take a detour and go straight through the city. A detour would take at least 5 extra days. 5 more days in the wilderness meant 5 more days of danger. Although Lin'an had a survivor base, the city itself was enormous. As long as we took a route far from the base city and passed through quickly, the chance of being discovered was low. I released my spiritual power in advance, bringing every zombie along route under my control and making them clear a path for the convoy. The entire convoy moved silently through the city's dark streets. The convoy safely passed through most of Lin'an's urban district. The southern exit lay just ahead. Just then, flying number 1 sent back urgent intelligence. On the overpass at the southern exit, a military convoy was stationed. Several armored vehicles and military trucks blocked the bridge, forming a roadblock. Snipers had also been deployed atop buildings on both sides of the bridgehead. They were troops from Lin Moyan City, but after closer observation, I realized the soldiers did not seem to be on high alert. Lin Moyan City had likely received notice that the zombie king had been sighted, and at the main entry points, set up checkpoints. "Dad, we cannot go through here," Yun Ruoxue said. "Even if we can fight our way through, it will cause too much commotion. The entire base city's forces will come after us." I agreed. "Take a detour." The convoy turned around, entering a deserted alley, to circle west. Using the map, I planned to cross the industrial district west of Lin, then leave the city by its ring road. But the industrial district's roads were terrible. Collapsed factories and gridlocked vehicles choked every road. 20 minutes later, the convoy left the industrial district and reached the ring road. Just as I thought we had escaped, the roar of helicopters suddenly rose behind us. 3 armed helicopters flew in from the city, their searchlights sweeping through the night. As they searched for something, "Accelerate." At my command, the convoy surged forward. The helicopters quickly gave chase. Their searchlights locked onto the convoy, followed by cannon fire. Rounds struck the road behind the convoy, sending sparks everywhere. "Convoy ahead. Stop immediately for inspection. Otherwise, we will open fire." I ignored them. Flame number 1 rose from the convoy, becoming a crimson streak as it shot toward the helicopters. Amid a deafening explosion, flames shot into the sky, and wreckage rained down in all directions. The searchlights went out. The pursuit was cut off. The convoy sped across the city limits at full speed, vanishing into the endless night. We made it out. Su Muking let out a long breath, but I could not relax. Lin Moyan City would surely report the convoy's direction to their superiors. For the rest of our journey, every second would count. The convoy raced onward. At daybreak, we finally saw the border marker between Jianghai province and the neighboring province. But the instant the convoy crossed the provincial border, flying number 1 sent back an image from above that froze my smile. On a hill south of the provincial border, Huang Zhuan stood there, looking down at the convoy crossing the border. He only watched from afar, as if tracking and observing us. Yun Ruoxue noticed Huang Zhuan too. A trace of coldness crossed her little face. "That man is dangerous. He will not let this go. Should we deal with him first?" I shook my head. Although we killed Huang Zhuan's mutated pangolin, Huang Zhuan himself is a beast tamer. He may still have hidden cards up his sleeve, but this was not the best time to deal with him. Once we are out of the province, we can make plans carefully. "Let us go first," I said with a smile. The convoy continued south, entering the neighboring province. After leaving Jianghai province, the roads improved noticeably. The broad highways were clogged with vehicles, but they were far less treacherous than the mountain roads before. 3 days later, we reached Yunzhou City in the neighboring province. Before the apocalypse, Yunzhou City was a major city of 3 million people. Now, it had become zombie territory. But to me, it was a vast treasure trove. 3 million people meant an enormous number of zombies. A vast number of zombies meant vast numbers of evolved zombies in crystal cores. Besides, this place was far from Jianghai province, and news traveled slowly. For now, we did not need to fear pursuit from human-based cities. After the convoy entered Yunzhou's urban district, I unleashed a zombie horde as usual to clear the surrounding area, harvesting crystal core after crystal core. Yun Ruoxue made the most of the time to cultivate, while feeding her old turtle. After accumulating strength these past days, old turtle finally advanced to rank 4. It had grown large enough to set up a card table and play cards on its shell. Su Muking had not been idle either. Every day, she rode Big Black, the mutated bull, to hunt ferocious beasts. Her strength steadily improved. She also diligently practiced the ninfold meridian tempering art Yun Ruoxue taught her. Her aura grew ever deeper. As for me, I used this time to further expand my corpse puppet forces. By harvesting zombie crystal cores throughout Yunzhou City, I raised several more rank for corpse puppets. With this level of power, even if I faced a medium-sized base city head-on, I was confident I could take it on. But all I wanted was to find somewhere safe for little Qiqi to grow. Unfortunately, on the 5th night of our stay in Yunzhou City, through flying number 1's aerial surveillance, I spotted something northwest of Yunzhou's urban district. A massive convoy was moving this way. There were dozens of military vehicles, armored vehicles, and tanks, escorted by 6 armed helicopters. At the center of the convoy were several command vehicles bearing special markings. They were heading straight for Yunzhou City. The news had reached this place after all. My heart sank. It seemed the imperial capital had expanded its wanted notice for the Zombie King to the neighboring province. This force was most likely assembled by a base city in the neighboring province after receiving the alert to hunt me down. But it was also possible that Huang Zhuan had given my location to a base city here. Either way, I could not stay here any longer. Su Muqing had grown used to this rootless life. Silently, she began packing. Yun Ruoxue walked to the window and gazed at the quiet streets outside. Dad, we cannot keep running forever. I knew she was right, but other than running, what could we do right now? One day, we will not have to run anymore. Yun Ruoxue turned back and smiled at me. That smile held a composure and resolve far beyond her years. Before dawn, the convoy vanished into Yunzhou City's night. Meanwhile, dozens of kilometers away, the massive military convoy was still advancing. Inside a command vehicle, a stern-faced middle-aged man was reading through a file. A red top-secret stamp marked its cover. Its title consisted of only 5 Chinese characters. Zombie King Dossier. The man closed the file and looked into the distance, toward Yunzhou City in the dark.